Hi guys, we are here with Manu Bennett backstage at MCM Comic Con, the fantastic actor from Spartacus, from Arrow, and now from Death Race. You guys must have seen him before, and I have to say...
Shannara Chronicles.
Of course.
Currently the Shannara Chronicles.
Currently. I was going to say, because we've seen you before in all those shows, but now you're in Shannara. And what would you say is your most popular role at the moment, especially being at a convention?
You know, there's some really hardcore fans for Spartacus, and you know, I mean, for me personally, you know, the role of Crixus was an incredible journey, an incredible emotional tapestry that was woven over like 4 years of performance. You know, Arrow has its popular culture, of course. You know, it's a slightly different demographic, but you know, it's wonderful to see, you know, young fans who love the show and love the performance. I think we're currently being drowned out by a
voice from above.
But you know, it's it's just, I mean, look, I'm lucky to have had really good roles, to work with Peter Jackson, and now working on Terry Brooks's series, the Shannara Chronicles. I love the character of Allanon. He's a real dark horse, but he's actually a protagonist. So it's the first time that I've actually been inside the role of a character that's emanating good, you know, purely good for the young cast of Shannara.
Well, I was wondering about that because having watched it and loved it, I feel sorry for Allanon in a way, because he's fighting to help save the Elchris and fighting for all the people of Abalon, but people aren't really trusting him, and just as he's getting to grips with it, the king dies and is replaced by the shapeshifter. He tries and helps Bandon, who looks like he's going to be the season 2 villain. You know, how's Allanon going to take that? How's he going to be really in season 2?
Well, I think he'll probably just take it in his stride. You know, I think he operates as a person that is well aware of the ramifications of war, of disagreements, of fallen kings, of empires trying to wield their power. So you know, he's kind of like aware of the big game, and really sort of has to play each piece of the chess game, you know, in order to get to the result that's necessary. But you know, I think he's definitely weather worn. You know, I think Terry's interpretation of the character in the books is really there's so much emphasis on the weight that Allanon carries in terms of his responsibilities as the last druid of Paranor, through to just being the person who is meant to look after these young characters, you know, and the two worlds are like combined in a way that you feel the softness of the journey, but you always feel the weight of the destination. You know, it's wonderful how Terry's written such iconic characters. You know, I mean, he's been likened to J.R. Tolkien, but there's also a sense of you know, Star Wars and that sort of an idea of fantasy genre as well. So you know, it's wonderful to be involved. It's wonderful to be working with New Zealand practitioners again. You know, I'm a New Zealander, so whenever we get the opportunity to display the creativity of our production and our crews
and the locations.
Well, exactly. You know, I mean, in this particular show, we're shooting a lot of outdoor footage, and you know, you get to see the beauty of New Zealand. Yes,
absolutely. Is there anything you can tease yet about season 2 at all?
You know, Al and Miles, our producers, have promised that you know, this is going to be a very strong follow-up to our first season, and you know, we've heard fan responses and figured out, you know, how this series is starting to emerge through the MTV network, and I think, you know, we've got something to look forward to in terms of strengthening, and you know, a series like this can only go from strength to strength, and I think that maybe our second series is the one that will make people really wake up and start watching Shannara.
Well, I really hope so. It's a good series.
Terry Brooks's honor, mostly because what a great writer he is.
Well, I look forward to the second season, and one of the moments in the first season where Pyria dies shortly after you reunite made me think Shadow dies in Arrow, and obviously Nivea. I'm wondering, people don't do so well if they are romantic entanglements on screen. Have you ever thought about maybe changing that tide and maybe doing, you know, a romantic comedy or something?
You know, I'd consider, you know, to be honest, in any role, you know, I think that's something I kind of like. I like to commit myself to. I think the thing is that, you know, the people who have stood up and took notice of my work, say from Spartacus, you know, obviously, you know, there's this requirement of making strong male characters, you know, bulletproof, muscly kind of, you know, but I always like to think that I go and take away those layers of my characters and lay them to bear. And you know, as far as the romance stories and stuff like that go, it's funny because Al and Miles, our producers on Shannara, we've had a few conversations, and you know, who knows what's in store for season 2.
I think so. That definitely should be in the works, I think.
Everything's only as strong as relationships, you know. Every series relies on relationships to make you know, the drama work, you know, and you know, it's obvious that, you know, Allanon plays this Gandalf kind of role, but there's a lot to the character that I think that Al and Miles are looking to create in the new world of Shannara, not just staying absolutely true to the book series. They've made their own adaptations, so, you know, there's a lot of possibilities.
Well, fantastic, and we have to talk about Arrow. I'm a huge fan, and it's a massively popular role, and I think by popular opinion you are the most popular villain on Arrow. What makes you the best at being bad?
You know, the word bad is like, it's like love and hate. You know, I think once again, I think the thing that people might have picked up on my performance of Slade Wilson was that I created a character that had his dark sides, but he also had his empathy. And I think that most people are like this. You know, we're not Superman, we're not Spider-Man, we're not Hulks. Well, the Hulk's an interesting character, you see, and so is Deathstroke and Slade Wilson. You know, so once you understand the kind of the journey of a character, you start to feel like, you know, you're watching their every step. And I think where you know, maybe we won with Slade Wilson and Deathstroke was that you know, the precursors of the Deathstroke era were the friendship between Oliver and Slade, the way that Slade cared for Shadow, you know, and then in came Mirakuru and a whole bunch of things, and
messed that up
and turned everything upside down, and you know. Look, it's, you know, I mean, for me, it's always an honour to be recognised as Slade and Deathstroke, and you know, I can only hope that Joe Manganiello, who's a good friend of mine, and I really like the guy a lot. He's a wonderful man, and I really hope that his interpretation of Deathstroke is going to be something that will do his career well, and give him the opportunity to perform, you know, within that mask, within that character.
Well, speaking of Arrow, they're now on episode 507. The next episode is their 100th episode, and Stephen Amell tweeted out a picture fairly recently of him sitting on a park bench with Deathstroke, which made a lot of people wonder. Made a lot of people wonder if you were going to come back or be involved in the 100th episode at all. And is that something that is possible? And then I think the other thing is whether you might be back in the Suicide Squad, because that's another option.
Listen, you know, I did my best to provide, you know, a character that you know, the audience would appreciate, and you know, they have, and you know, there's been this ongoing, you know, question of what's going to happen on the show, and you know, when will the return happen and whatnot. You know, I mean, I'll let the show speak for itself.
So you can't say whether you're involved or not, but we certainly hope that you'll come back, I think. And finally, I know we haven't got much time, but with all the great characters you played, I'm wondering if the Druid Allanon had to go up against Deathstroke, who would win?
Oh, you know, if I don't even know whether the magic staff can go faster than a bullet, but you know, I'm sure you know, it depends who draws first.
Could go either way.
Yeah, maybe Azog would come in and just sort of crush them both.
Absolutely, yeah, he'd kill them both. Well, thank you so much for talking to us backstage here at MCM. Appreciate it, and good luck with season 2 of Shannara.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Cheers.